Inashwanisha Yatili Lawit. My name is Katrina Miller, and I'm from the Yakima Nation, and I'm the program manager for the language program. And I've been in this position for about a year. And I'd like to thank Colleen for inviting us to share on the webinar today. And what I would like to do is, we're doing a lot of things to get the language out to the community and to the people. And, this can't be done, by one person, it's done by the team here at the language program. So I would like to introduce our staff. You can click to the next one. So here, Modesta is our education director, and myself, Fred Hill, he's a master speaker. Antone, he's a Cayuse Nez Perce master speaker historian. Thomas, a Umatilla master speaker and historian. And we have Mildred Quimps, master speaker. Damian Totis, language instructor. Gretchen Kern, tribal linguist. Lisa Minthorn, Sahaptin technology specialist. Kristen Parr, the Sahaptin language archival specialist. And Jonathan Geary, Sahaptin language resource developer. Aaliyah, Sahaptin language apprentice. And Claire as the Sahaptin language apprentice. So this is our team here for the language program, and I'm really honored to work with such a good team and with the language to get it out there for the people, to preserve. And we want to have more people learn the language, of Walla Walla, Nez Perce, and Umatilla. So, but anyway, I will hand this off to Fred for the rest of the slides, but thank you very much.
Hey, Nick, Patway, Nchi Kwasla, Yatili Lawit, Kushki, Colleen, and Kunam Chinam Wikush, Chanachi, this webinar. So good to see all of you. Well, your names at least, and your still pictures. But in the Shwanisha Tautelik Tanan Timki. My Indian name is Fred Tautelik. My English name is Fred Hill. I was born here, Pendleton, Oregon, raised out Mackay Creek, went to school at Pilot Rock, raised by my grandmother. Tquinanmai was her Indian name. Her English name was Annie Jo. And I also had an uncle. Her son, he was my mother's brother. He raised me too. But just honored to be here, to be considered to be make a small presentation here about the language program. And so, as you'll see in the slides, that we had Jonathan Geary work with us, and I feel privileged that we have a language program, that we've had a language program over the years. Early on in my younger years, I think I worked with Ron Pond, who is Dr. Ron Pond today, as well as Isaac Patrick and different ones on just simple language translations for numbers and colors and animals. And that was through like a JOM project back in that time, and not thinking that our language program would eventually evolve and become what it is today. And so we've made a lot of huge strides. And I've only been employed with the language program for going on 2 years. But other than that, I've had the opportunity to work under the Pendleton School District, the Nishawa Community School, and share much language as I could with our high school students, as well as with recreation program during the summer months, and any and everybody who is willing to learn our language. Not only is it Umatilla, we have Nez Perce, as well as Walla Walla, Palouse, Shwanwapum, Wayampum, Yakima dialects. So we all have a very similar related languages, just like how a lot of us are related through families and blood, and that's how I believe that our language is too. So you'll be able to read all the information through the PowerPoint presentation. So I'll just go ahead and see what the next slide is there. So you'll see our mission statement and everything. So if you'll go ahead and go to the next slide, and you know, the alphabet that we've adopted over the years, and it was a privilege to meet Noel Rood when I first came around. Dr. Noel Rood, at that time when we used to have many elders that were involved with the language program and the early documentation, and it was always great to be amongst them with their stories and humor, as well as their real in-depth knowledge. And so with a lot of the you know, words, names that were documented, stories, and even you know, the appreciation goes beyond even Dr. Rood, you know, back to Bruce Rigsby, Dr. Bruce Rigsby, and I believe he's still alive and resides in Australia, from what I know, and also Dr. Philip Cash, one of our own tribal members, that's a linguist. And so as we've adopted this alphabet, you know, years ago, my uncle, Charlie Mackay, he was very instrumental in helping me learn to read the language with the English alphabet. And so he would write me letters in Chamawa, and then he would have some Indian language in there, and then I would have to interpret what he would ask or say. So I would send him a letter back, and not expecting anything, but maybe, you know, to see if I got him right. But here he'd send a little incentive, you know, $20 or whatever in the mail, and tell me, you know, that I was doing good. So he kept me active and involved and encouraged with the language. And so, and you know, with the way that technology has evolved over time, you know, we've got the Shapatunxwit keyboard, and so we're able to use all of our symbols and everything and letters that we need. I think we only have four basic vowels that we use, and so and it's a great thing that we have. So if you learn how to read the language, you know, and then you'll be able to pronounce some of our language words. And so same time as I'm learning to read our language and language words, I'm also learning how to read Nez Perce, because part of my bloodline is Nez Perce from my paternal side. And it's a great thing today that just very, very recent that our Umatilla dictionary has not only been published in the hard copy form, but also online. So that's a great thing today. And so so I teach the Umatilla Nikyawi to the Nikyawi students, as well as Damien Totus, and then our apprentices along with us. And we also have community classes and a Blue Mountain community class. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide, if you would, please. And so again, this community class is for, I think Damien's going to start his on Thursdays or Wednesdays or something, but there'll be little changes there. But mine has been going on on Thursdays at 11. And but same time, I've, you know, adjusted my schedule, working with the language program to keep our young people involved for their language credit for the Nikyawi Community School. And at one time, I believe it was dubbed, when we first started the program, that it was dubbed as a foreign language. And so that got changed into that, you know, as a second language. So I'm glad that we have that to be able to teach our languages, not only in the high school and the community. And my sister Mildred has also worked with the Pelk school and teaching a lot of those Indian kids language, native and non-native. And also a lot of kudos out to Linda Sampson for teaching our kids, our food songs. And I was just watching a clip of that not too long ago when we had a feast, our children's feast at the Longhouse, and all those kids were saying the songs. They're singing all the words in the song word for word, and kind of like almost like got me beat, because some of them songs I don't quite know, and it's a lifelong endeavor to continue to learn. Our religious songs that have the language in them, what we call Tamsinwe. And also, so we're Jonathan, Gary, and myself and Kristen Parr, we're very active in keeping our language in the CUJ. And so I'm glad that, so hopefully it's, we'll get foot to the front of the page or front rather than clear in the back. So when you see the language, read it, check it out. There's a lot that goes into it that we want you all to learn, specific words and pronunciations, and email us or ask us questions. We're just dying for questions. So again, so like I said, and also this year, this winter term, we had the Blue Mountain Community College Umatilla 101, and so that's been via Zoom, and that's been a great opportunity. And with the efforts of Gretchen Kern and Jonathan Gary, and then also Annie Smith, having worked with the Blue Mountain Community College staff to get this class up and running. It's great so far, and we're teaching our people how to speak Indian, Umatilla. Okay, and then again, as you see down there, that the Umatilla dictionary is online now. Now you'll know. Nami sinuit na Imatalam sinuit na. So you'll no excuses. So everybody should be able to open up their phones, their laptops, or their their notebooks, what have you, and be able to kind of start deciphering and learning your language. Okay, let's go to the next slide if you would, please. Or is that it? Is there any more slides? Okay. And our role in teaching first foods and cultural knowledge. Ako namit kwadet diwat outni. Our foods are sacred. As a young boy, our family, our grandmother, she taught us, about root digging. And I was just reminiscing about a woman that I think they had their funeral today in Yakima, that her family would come here, and they would come up here to go dig flowers, stay with us for a week. And so just thinking of the Tamascan family today. And but our foods, it's a very it's been an integral part, our life ways, all throughout, especially having known that back in the early times, before my time even, that you had heard of what they called the Depression years. And a lot of our Indian people were able to sustain their own lives because they had stored food. And that was always the life cycle and seasonal cycles of our Indian people, was storing food, the salmon, drying deer meat, drying the roots. And a lot of this was way before they had learned how to can foods. And, we've heard stories, that everything was in those ways, our kunch, the pine lichen and those type of foods. So very important to know, the ones that are the right ones to dig, and which ones are the ones not to dig. And it's all by what they call the hahan, the flower tops. So some appreciate all the efforts of everybody in the community that has shown our kids. And we got to go out and share with Jonathan Geary, and as well as Gretchen Kern, her husband. we brought them up to go dig, and they dug their first roots ever. And so it was a real nice day. So that was one day we just took to do that. And so I was gifted with Gretchen's husband's roots to myself, and then the others will share with the other families that will need them. So again, so our staple root that we've always been known for here is Haush. Haush. And so I'm not sure what we got written in there, but like this is how we have the cultural lessons. And so I always, like I say, I always appreciate what Jonathan. And so when we put in any of the language in Umatilla, we also want to have the equivalent of how it's mentioned in Nez Perce. So Kristen Parr, as well as myself, we work together to make sure that we include both languages. Okay, so what is our next slide? So as we aim to incorporate language in sharing cultural practices and teachings, so again, this Tumaicht, I think it was a couple of summers ago that we did the Tumaicht project, and I believe you may have seen that actual production. And I can't remember the name of the father and son team that came and did that production for us, but it was quite. I think it was in two-part segments when they did prior to the one we did at Indian Lake, and it was a great opportunity to learn how our elder people had cooked years ago, and how not only would they cook the roots and the pine lichen, the conch, but I used to hear stories from my uncle how that would be how they used, if anybody shot a bear, that they would they would bake it underground like that, and so that's something. And I believe at the Nishawa Education Center there, to the left of the main entrance is a Tumaicht area that we still have yet to use. So anybody that wants to be involved in that, like to maybe put that effort together to have a Tumaicht of kunch or whatever that we want to cook underground. And so again, as we put this piece out there of the statement of saying, Mani paata mianashma. Mani paata mianashma. How will the children be? We've heard this from our elders. They was worried about us. What if we would uphold a language? What if we would uphold the songs, or any of the culture? Because even in our younger times, that there was a lot of things that would cause us to be distracted, but yet the culture is what keeps us focused and on that right path of who we are as Indian people. And so as we get older, we realize like the Indian foods are the real lifeline of our lives, because it's talked about in our songs, and it's all presented in front of us. When the waikanish, the salmon nusuk is set out, awina, and the deer meat, chnit, all the roots that are dug, tamanit, wiudnu, go tmish, and chush. So it's it all evolves around that those nami yayako patma, big brothers and our big sisters. Okay, so I can't read that bottom piece there what it says, but go ahead and let's go on down to the next slide if you have one there. Oh, okay, so nche kwasla, and this is how we say thank you. And again, just very grateful. Again, Inishunisha Tautalix. My original Indian name was Kautalix from my paternal side. And And if any of you have Indian names, let us know your Indian names so we can, if it's not documented, we'd like to document them names, for the records of, for the sake of your children and grandchildren. And again, we just, everything's, for our children. Namimiya Nashmiyai, for them. And so I'll go ahead and open it up for if anybody has any questions or comments.
Thank you, Fred. Yeah, if you guys have questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat, or you're welcome to kind of raise your hands and ask now. I know that I haven't been able to make it to your language classes lately, but I really, really appreciate the sharing of the language that your program has done. I was attending Mildred's classes when they were in the afternoons a couple years ago, and even just training my mouth to make the words and make the sounds was definitely a learning experience, but it has been so rewarding. And I would encourage anyone, it's an amazing way to get to know the tribe and get to know the culture, and hear some amazing stories that you wouldn't get to hear otherwise. So I'm opening it up. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask?
This is Katrina again.
Perfect.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I just also wanted to share that the language program works with the Oregon Department of Education for the biliteracy test, where students get tested right now we're doing Nez Perce and Umatilla. So if they pass the test, they get a seal on their diploma. And we also work with SB 13, Senate Bill 13, to implement lesson plans for the 9 tribes here in Oregon. So I just wanted to share that with everybody too. Thank you.